Good day, snow lovers. This is Ethan from the Sawtooth Avalanche Center with your weekend update for February 11th, 2022. Remember, this does not replace the daily avalanche forecast, so please sign up to get that in your inbox or check it out at sawtoothavalanche.com. All right, let's jump in. A week in review. The two main bullet points for this week were wind last weekend that caused some isolated wind slabs, primarily in alpine locations, although some were lower on slopes, particularly around the Wood River Valley. And then it followed up with warming temperatures throughout the week. Here is an image of a small wind slab that was triggered along Titus Ridge near Galena Summit. These slabs did not extend very far down the ridgeline, but they were sensitive to the weight of the skier. And they were quite touchy because they were resting on some of that weak faceted snow that's formed over the last 3 weeks of January and early February. This small avalanche was triggered on Saturday, February 5th in the southern Sawtooths. The skier was able to cut off of the slab as it released. It broke about a foot deep and 50 feet wide and consisted of wind drifted snow, again, that was sitting on top of that weaker snow that formed during that prolonged dry spell. I observed a few small wind slabs in the Littlewood drainage that again occurred over this past weekend. They were all quite small, but they were lower down at lower elevations at about 6,500 feet. We also got report of some wildlife triggered avalanches in the Wood River Valley that were similar. So where are we at now? Well, we have bumped the avalanche danger to moderate. You can see we're low at upper elevations and moderate at middle and lower. And the reason being is it's getting hot out there, folks. If you've been in Haley, you might have actually not noticed quite how hot it's been. But here are a couple of examples from around the valley or around the forecast area. Galena Lodge, here you can see a 7-day trace of the temperature. You know, it was touching 40 there for a while, a little bit over. But what changed is these overnight lows were way above freezing at Galena Lodge the last 2 nights. And then yesterday we spiked all the way up into the mid 50s, which is pretty inconceivable for February. Dollarhide Summit, similarly, we've had several days now where we've hovered around freezing or just above at night, which has allowed daytime highs to creep even higher. And we hit 45 degrees there, even though that's at pretty high elevation there at Dollarhide Summit. So we've got a lot of warm air hanging around under this high pressure ridge. And because of that warm air and spiking temperatures in the last few days in particular, we've developed a wet loose avalanche problem. This avalanche problem is going to be most prominent at middle and lower elevations, which are the warmest. They also have a shallower snowpack, and those shallow snowpacks at lower elevations have become heavily faceted over the dry spell. And that pile of sugar is essentially turning into a 7-Eleven Slurpee, a nasty pile of just wet muck that has started to release as small wet loose avalanches in the last couple of days. We've seen avalanches of this type across most of our different forecast zones over the last couple of days. And one of them just east of the forecast area on your way from Stanley to Chalice. Actually, a few of them crossed the road and blocked traffic temporarily yesterday, which was Thursday. So where are we headed from here? We still have a ridge of high pressure that's dominating our weather pattern, at least for the next few days, but it does start to break down a little bit and get a bit more interesting. I'll let this run out. Oh, this one little feature really quickly that dives down into the Four Corners region. This next weekend is going to produce, or sorry, early in this next week on Monday is going to produce a little bit of snow. Here it comes. Watch quick, and then dives down. It is in the last couple model runs, they've shoved it a little bit further south, and it's cut out of the main flow just a little bit sooner. We'll see it again right here. And it dives down right here. If it dives down soon, meaning it goes down through Northern California, we're not likely to get much precipitation out of it. If it loses some steam and kind of hits the Nevada border, sometimes that can be a little bit of a snow producer for us. but it's a little bit too early to tell. My guess is that if it does produce some snow, it's not going to be very much. And right now, the latest model runs would tend to agree. This is our total expected precipitation through the end of next week. Really, the highest points I can find are maybe 4/10, and that might be a bit of a stretch, and it's up around the Sawtooths and Banner Summit. So essentially, we have one storm that might bring us 2 to maybe 4 inches of snow if we're lucky on Monday night going into Tuesday. And then there's a very slight chance of a short wave that might bring us a little bit of additional precipitation on Wednesday, but that one seems to be pretty low confidence in that little storm. So to recap, it's going to continue to be hot over the weekend. The next 2 days might set records for the hottest day of the winter so far. So expect those wet avalanche concerns to continue, particularly on very steep, rocky, sun-drenched slopes. Those that are sheltered from the wind allow that heat to really sink in even further. And those problems are likely to continue through the weekend. We'll get a bit of a mix up in some of the weather next week, so stay tuned as Chris forecasts for you over the weekend. But until then, let us know what you're seeing out there. We sure appreciate all of your guys' support via those observations. So keep them coming. Thanks very much, and we'll catch you next week.